About this disturbing scene.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at 5. I'm Liz Kedantis. Breaking tonight, gunfire in a grocery store. A toddler just days away from turning 2 years old is among 3 killed inside a Publix in Royal Palm Beach. You're looking at our drone live over the scene right now. The shots fired just before noon. Deputies believe the man found dead killed himself after he shot and killed the woman and toddler. No employees at Publix were hurt. The shooting happened at the Publix on Royal Palm Beach Boulevard and Okeechobee Boulevard. Tonight, we have live team coverage with reaction from people nearby when the shooting started. But we begin with my co-anchor Jim Grimes standing by live with the very latest on the investigation. Jim?
Yeah, Liz, I'm standing at a parking lot of a gas station. About 100 yards behind me is the Publix, and you can see it is still a very active crime scene right now. Dozens of law enforcement officers, along with investigators, are still on the inside working that scene. As you said, this all started just before noon today. When police got out here, they found a child. That was one of the first things they saw. This child, apparently just a month shy of their 2-year-old birthday, among the victims. 3 people in all dead. Police are still trying to sort out all the details. Our Andrew Lofholm, he was one of the first reporters out here today. He's joining me now. And Andrew, this is a tough one because obviously they think right now that this may have been a domestic issue.
Right. They believe that this was not random, that all 3 of them knew each other. They don't know exactly how they all knew each other, but they believe that they did. Now, they said that the woman who was found dead was somehow related to that toddler, again, as you mentioned, about to turn 2. They don't know if it was a mother, an aunt, or something else, and they're trying to actually identify the man who opened fire, who then eventually would turn the gun on himself. They have not yet identified him, but they need his identity to better understand how he fits into this whole picture. But they're going through this surveillance video, trying to understand it all a little bit better. Once they can find out who this man is, then they could piece together why exactly this happened. But here's the scene moments after it happened. At around 11:40 this morning, this Publix was the scene of chaos. Customers and employees fleeing for their lives as gunfire erupted inside that left 3 people dead. This man was on his way in.
And as I was about 100 feet away from the doors, everyone started coming out, yelling, "Active shooter, shots fired, get out, get out." And I saw about 50 customers and staff leave, I would say in about 10 or 15 seconds.
A toddler who would have turned 2 at the end of the month and a woman related to the child among the dead. The shooter, a man, turned the gun on himself. It happened in the produce section. The sheriff's office says they all knew each other, but not sure how, as they try to find out why this happened.
What we're doing right now is we're documenting the scene. We're trying to determine what led up to the shooting. We're talking to witnesses, we're reviewing video. A tragedy that's become all too commonplace.
This is unfortunately getting so common that it, I don't want to say it doesn't even skip a beat of the heart, but it's just getting too common.
All right, so to bring in a little bit of the investigation that's going on, so the majority of the tape around us is this yellow crime scene tape, but if you look closely, you'll see some red crime scene tape over there. Deputies say that is called the hot zone, an area that they're really focused on. I actually saw them going through those cars, potentially connected to either the victims, the shooting, or both of or all those parties involved. But just to give you a little insight, Jim, into what's going on here, they're focused there on that hot zone there. They also say the medical examiner hasn't been out here yet, but that's going to be the next big thing to come out is who exactly these people are.
They also told us they were trying to identify the suspect. What can you tell us about that?
They're still working on that. They said that as of yet, they have not yet identified him. They have identified the woman who was killed, and they've identified the toddler who was killed, but not yet the man who was killed. And that's a huge element in trying to understand why exactly this happened.
We were talking earlier, when it comes to domestic violence, traditionally, we hear about this happening in someone's home, even a workplace. Unusual to see it in a public setting like this.
Right, certainly, and the sheriff's office has come out outwardly said, hey, this is definitely domestic violence, but you can connect those dots saying that these victims all knew each other. Everyone who was killed here knew each other, so still trying to work through some of those details. And again, once they find out exactly who the man is and how he fits into the whole picture, how he knows these people, but the sheriff's office believe that he, in fact, does know these people.
And there was also some talk initially when this report came in. A lot of people were concerned that that this was an active shooter situation.
Right. And so the PBSO was quick to point out this was not an active shooter situation, that the gunman was in fact dead. There was no employees who was hurt in this. This wasn't a workplace shooting by any means. This was 3 people who all somehow knew each other, and it was contained to those 3 people.
All right, our Andrew Lofholm, who was live on the scene, one of the first reporters out here. You know, keep in mind, this Publix was open for business. So not only were there shoppers inside there doing what they had to do, but also there were shoppers themselves who, many of them, witnessed this violence. Our Jay O'Brien is joining us now with a little more on what eyewitnesses saw. Jay?
With people who were inside the store, and what they recount is ducking for cover. Some of them ran to the back of the store. Some of them ran right out the front door right when they heard that gunfire. Most of the witnesses that we've been speaking with recount 3 shots as they remember a day that began with shopping at a grocery store that quickly turned into violence. Just before lunchtime, a busy shopping plaza turned into chaos. Customers and staff in the Publix supermarket hearing gunshots echo through the aisles. Juan, shopping in the deli section, sprinted to the back of the store for cover, sheltering alongside Publix employees.
I hear the shoot, okay? And then I did wrong.
The plaza full of other businesses now blocked off, part of a sprawling crime scene. I'm just trying to call to get a sense of what happened next door to you. We spoke over the phone with people who were working nearby. Are you still in your store right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
One man who works next door to the Publix heard the first shot and instantly knew something was wrong.
And then I heard it again, and it made me jump out of my chair to run to the front.
How many shots do you remember hearing?
3 in total, I'm pretty sure.
As deputies comb the crime scene for evidence and search for a motive, there's already a sense of the impact this crime will have on the community. County Commissioner Melissa McKinley.
There were families that are going to hear devastating news that their loved ones have been killed. We've got a lot of employees and customers that were inside that Publix today. Sorry. That saw this unfold.
Staggering violence in a grocery store many neighbors visit every day. It's important to point out just how big this shopping plaza is, and you might have seen it from some of our images from the air. And one of the lingering questions here is when this plaza, which is right now locked down, will reopen, and when the Publix itself will reopen. We actually spoke with some employees of Publix, some maintenance crews who are still, as of this time, last we checked, waiting to get inside the grocery store to take stock of exactly what this scene looks like behind those doors. Jim?
Yeah, excellent, Jay. I was going to also say if people are traveling in this area, you may want to just avoid it altogether. The traffic on Okeechobee and Royal Palm Beach right now extremely slow, and that's because most of the entrances into this strip plaza have been quartered off, and they have been since early this afternoon. We are expecting much more information to come out from the Sheriff's Department, but in the meantime, we can tell you that we have what police believe may be a domestic dispute, a domestic violence, I should say. Again, 2 people dead, including a child, and the gunman, who they believe may have a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Much more coming up a little later in our newscast. Liz, I'll send it back to you.
All right, we'll check with you then, Jim. Thank you. CBS 12 News first alerted you about this shooting with a push alert to your phone. For breaking news alerts, download our CBS 12 News app. It is free.